And joining me now for an exclusive interview is Elisabeth Braw, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. Good evening to you, ma'am.
Good evening.
I want to start with Donald Trump on Afghanistan, saying America's NATO allies, quote, stayed a little back, a little off the front lines. That has, of course, since been lambasted by European leaders, including typical Trump allies like Poland's Karol Nawrocki, Italy's Giorgia Meloni. How badly did President Trump read the room on this?
Extremely badly, but we have to remember he is somebody who he's not a man who reads. He often speaks off the cuff, and he doesn't seem to have been that America's closest allies made incredible sacrifices in Afghanistan, and he again spoke off the cuff, didn't read up before complaining that they had, in his words, stayed a bit off the front line, and has been an incredible and extraordinary couple of days seeing veterans, politicians, veterans' families, the survivors of soldiers who lost their lives in Afghanistan, all speaking out against the president. What a groundswell of just sadness and anger. And as we saw, he then subsequently had managed to not apologize, but change his words when he came to the UK. Now let's see if he apologizes, or at least changes his wording when it comes to other countries, because it's only the UK that has received that kind of moderated version so far.
You're right to say he didn't explicitly apologise, lavish the praise on, but no apology or explicit walking back of those comments. I'm curious at the broader picture here too, because we know President Trump has been pushing for Greenland. Europe said no chance this week at Davos. He ruled out military action there. Now he's being accused, of course, of kind of erasing fallen soldiers, and his own supporters or proxies in Europe are unimpressed with that. Is Europe in some ways learning that standing up firm to the president is better than trying to charm or trying to coddle him?
It has been a very instructive few days, beginning with the European reaction to Donald Trump's speech in Davos, and the couple of days leading up to that, or a couple of weeks leading up to that, when he had been very belligerent, almost, regarding Greenland, repeating that America needs it. And then European allies, a number of countries standing up for Denmark and Greenland by voicing public support, and in some cases sending troops there. By the way, those troops went for an exercise, and protecting Greenland is what President Trump has called for, but he understood it to be offensive to the United States, and then threatened tariffs against these countries. But what was so instructive and illuminating to see was that the EU then came together and collectively said, we are going to push back against this threat, and if you impose tariffs, higher tariffs on these countries, we will very strongly consider implementing our trade bazooka. And that clearly convinced him to walk back. And similarly, the outrage that European veterans, and also Canadian veterans, but especially European veterans and American veterans, have voiced since his callous comments about European or America's allies in the Afghanistan war. He then again slightly walked that back, but I think many veterans and their families and leaders in allied countries are waiting, expecting a proper apology, and not just a little bit of a walking back when it comes to the UK's contribution.
It's really interesting, right? Because we're seeing leaders hit back. As we go to where we're also hearing India has agreed with the EU to massively slash tariffs on cars. Even Canada is making deals with China. Is Europe, and I guess the West excluding the United States, starting to feel more comfortable or telling or showing Donald Trump that he's maybe not the only game in town?
It has been a tumultuous few months, as we all know, and at the beginning of the year, European leaders and Canada did their best to charm Trump, to show that they were willing to work with him. They flattered him. They did everything. If they took every step that you could possibly countenance, and that's. I mean, I don't think we should criticize them for it, because you have to try. Hope dies last. You have to try positive engagement to see if it works, and they did that despite him being very critical of European countries and Canada. Now we have seen that despite those efforts, he has continued to escalate, sometimes in a very erratic manner. And yes, in the past couple of weeks, they seem to have decided that if they form a united front amongst themselves, the EU and sometimes the EU together with Canada, they can actually, if not convince him, then at least show him that what he's planning to do is going to backfire against America. And frankly, these policies that we have seen, the announcement we have seen in the past year, will hurt America in the long run. We have already seen Canada try to increase trade with China. That didn't need to happen. Canada would much rather trade with the United States, but if it's going to be treated badly, it will have to look elsewhere, which is exactly what we're seeing. And also, as you mentioned, the EU's trade talks with India, the trade agreement with Mercosur, which now we're just waiting for the European Parliament to approve it. All of this is happening, and it will not benefit America in the long run. These countries would have preferred to have much more extensive, much closer relations with America like they used to, but now they've found alternatives.
Very briefly, because we're running out of time, Ms. Braw, but you mentioned Canada, I mentioned that mooted trade deal between India and the EU. Does the global south, yes, China, but also India, really see this as a road to opportunity because Europe is being forced to diversify?
Certainly for India, it is an incredible second chance. India was always the runner-up to China in the post-Cold War globalization era. And then companies and countries started feeling uneasy about China and needed to reduce their exposure to China. India is the beneficiary of that, especially now that the United States has become, let's say, a less certain destination than it used to be. So India is getting a phenomenal second chance.
Elisabeth Braw, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all for World News tonight. Do stay with us here on TVP World for more. I'm Aaron Dahmen. Good night.